Hi, welcome to AQA GCSE English Language Paper 2 Question 5. By the end of the presentation you should know what's required for Paper 2 Question 5, which is the writing question, and you should be able to write convincingly, matching your tone to the audience. You should use linguistic and persuasive techniques and structure your writing effectively using signpost phrases or discourse markers. Make sure you proofread your writing for spelling, punctuation and grammar, and choose a variety of punctuation to show off what you can do. This is the mark scheme for level 3, which will get you, confusingly, a grade 4 hopefully in your exam. You have to make sure that your communication is really clear, so you make your points clearly with good backup. Your tone and style need to match your audience, and you need to use sophisticated vocabulary, including not repeating the same words, so try and use different words for the same thing if you want to repeat a chosen thing. Very importantly, you need to use linguistic devices, and there's a checklist in this video. You need to use structural features, so you need to perhaps come back to the starting idea at the end. And the writing needs to be engaging. You can use this by using emphasis or humour. And your ideas need to be clearly connected. Don't go off topic. Your paragraphs need to be nice and clear, and you should use discourse markers such as however, therefore, or on the other hand. Underneath is the further mark scheme for a slightly lower level, but what you're really aiming for is this level up here. This is the technical accuracy part of the mark scheme. I've given you the top 2 levels to look at here. The most important thing is that you get your full stops and sentence demarcation correct. So, as you know, you can end a sentence with a full stop, an exclamation mark, a question mark. You can also join sentences together with a semicolon, as long as they're related in meaning. What you can't do is join sentences together with nothing or a comma. So just make sure that you go through and check that. You should use all sorts of punctuation, including commas, semicolons and quotations if necessary. Sentence forms, you can use quotations, that's a sentence form, complex, simple, compound, minor, and you can start your sentences in different ways. This is all covered in the checklist in this video. You should use good English grammar, obviously go through and check all of that. And you should be as accurate as you can be with your spelling and use as wide a vocabulary as possible and try not to repeat the same words. Here's a partial, non-exhaustive checklist of things that you ought to include in your writing. Always try and include a metaphor and a rhetorical question in question 5. You could also do emotive language, lists of 3, direct address to the reader. Alliteration is easy. Complex sentences, so sentences with extra clauses where one half depends on another part of the sentence. Minor or short sentences, so a minor sentence is non-grammatical and a short sentence is grammatical but short. Semicolons, which you can use to separate sentences which are entire but related in meaning. And you can start your sentences in different ways with verbs, adverbs, nouns, adjectives, prepositions. Plus you could also use a quotation. Here is the question. You're advised to spend 45 minutes writing it unless you have extra time. So you should spend 5 minutes planning and 5 to 10 minutes proofreading. That doesn't leave a lot of time. So you do have to be very on the ball with your planning to make sure you know exactly what you're going to write. Write in full sentences. You're reminded of the need to plan. You don't get marks for that, but you will make a mess of it if you don't. And you should leave enough time to check your work at the end, as I said. Here is the question. Question 5. Christmas is a waste of time and money, buying things that people don't need and getting things that you don't want. Write an article for your school newsletter arguing against or in favour of this viewpoint. There are 40 marks. 24 are for content and organisation, and 16 marks are for technical accuracy or spelling, punctuation and grammar. Don't forget that the examiner is not going to believe what you're saying unless you support your view with reasons. That's the way to make your writing convincing. Here's my plan. As I agree with this statement, that Christmas is a waste of time and money, what I'm actually going to do is argue against it to force me to think of some really solid points and write a convincing article. That's the trick to writing a good article. Argue the opposite way to the way you think, and you can often make a better job of it. So my supporting arguments are that people need a midwinter holiday. Secondly, it's a good use of time to see loved ones and do things at home. Thirdly, people can save and like to spend money, which also keeps the economy going. And I'm going to include one or two counter arguments. For example, some people may not be able to afford Christmas, and the environmental arguments about over-consumerism, creating waste, greenhouse gases, and therefore being bad for the planet. Don't forget you have an introduction and a conclusion, so you should have at least 5 paragraphs and 3 supporting paragraphs. Don't forget to use a counter-argument, which is used to acknowledge that there is another view from your own, and then you can demolish that opposite view with support for your own view. It builds more strength into your writing. Here's my introduction. It starts with an allusion to the song that you just heard. I wish it could be Christmas every day, goes the song. And then I've used a signpost phrase, so obviously. I've included inclusive pronouns, we, to make an in-group so that you're making friends with your reader. And we then have rhetorical questions put together, each including a list of 3 things. This is my first topic paragraph, and it's about the fact that everyone needs a Christmas holiday. I've included a metaphor, which is really important, and the sentence starts after the signpost word with a preposition to make it a bit different to the other sentences. We then have lists of 3 things, simile, exclamation mark, inclusive pronouns, alliteration, and informal language with a rhetorical question at the end. This is my second topic paragraph on the topic of spending time with your family. I've started with the signpost phrase in pink, and I've continued with a counter argument. There's a lot of alliteration, lists of 3, rhetorical questions. I've created an enemy by calling the other people who aren't reading the article them, which is an exclusive pronoun. I've used direct address, a complex sentence, inclusive pronoun, started a sentence with an adverb, and used powerful emotive language. Towards the end, we have another song allusion and a short sentence to end the paragraph. This is my last topic paragraph. It starts with an adjective and a complex sentence with a semicolon, inclusive pronouns and alliteration. I've continued with exclusive pronoun, counter-argument with a solution, informal language because you are writing for a college newsletter, and a short sentence for emphasis at the end. This is my conclusion and the last paragraph of the article. After my signpost phrase or word, however, I then move on to an imperative, that's giving an order sentence and directly address the reader. It then goes on to a counter-argument and a minor sentence, greenhouse gases, which is not a grammatically correct sentence. That's called a minor sentence. We then move on to a long list, which is an effective way of putting over your point of view. And I've used another semicolon. We have inclusive pronouns and a rhetorical question. We've used another exclamation mark for emphasis and then one at the end as well. And we finish for our structure by referring back to the topic, Christmas trees, referring back to Christmas. This is probably one of the most important parts of spelling, punctuation and grammar, sentence punctuation. You must punctuate your sentences properly. Please use a full stop, a question mark, an exclamation mark, a semicolon or a joining word between your sentences. Don't use a comma or nothing. You need to show that you can use commas accurately. Commas are used between items in a list, before, after or around discourse markers such as on the other hand or however, before, after or around extra information which isn't a full sentence on its own, before or after quotations, always before the quotations mark, and before some joining words, for example and, but, or and so. Semicolons are really easy. They're used between complete sentences that are related in meaning instead of joining words, and they're used between list elements which contain commas. Well done, you've completed the workshop for paper 2 question 5. So by now you should know how to write convincingly, match your tone to the audience, be able to use linguistic and persuasive techniques, be able to structure your writing effectively, be able to use signpost phrases, be aware of proofreading for spelling, punctuation and grammar, and to use a variety of punctuation. I wish it could be Christmas every day, so goes the song. So obviously we don't all think that Christmas is a waste of time and money. Is Christmas a well-deserved holiday for hard workers and students, a time to enjoy your family and a good way to support the economy? Or is it expensive, unnecessary and bad for the environment? By the time December comes around, most workers, learners and parents are shadows of their summer selves, like a hedgehog trying to climb out of a garden pond and finally finding the ramp. Oh, the relief of the holidays! It's been a long old autumn, and we've had the flu and it's time to rest. After 4 months of rat race since the summer break, we're all ready to gorge ourselves, wake up at 2 p.m. and spend all day in our pyjamas. Sounds lovely, huh? Of course, there are those that will say that Christmas is a total time waster, and that while the weather is slashing rain, storms and soggy sleet, it's a good time to get a lot of work done. But we don't need to listen to them, do we? If you found one person who says they don't like to have a midwinter break, I could show you a liar. Joyfully spending time with loved ones, perhaps for the only time during the year, is a precious experience that lasts long after the festivities. Memories are made of this. Recreational spending as the weather gets colder is a national pastime. There's nothing we like more than to show our families how much we love them than by spending money and watching their faces as they open that gorgeous gift. Some UK businesses rely on the income that Christmas brings. For example, I think our turkey farmers would have something to say if we stopped eating the traditional bird during the festive season. Even if we don't like to spend money at other times of the year, this is the time when we can support our country and our economy. Those warning of financial ruin are just killjoys after all. Anyone can budget. Don't think I'm completely unaware of the impact of shopping and consumption on the environment. Greenhouse gases, all that plastic, wrapping, distribution, cooking, power, consumption and unwanted landfill. But we love it, don't we? It's only once a year and it unites us as a nation and a planet. Even people from other religions have a special day on December 25th. We just can't help ourselves, even if we're atheists. I'm sure we could solve the problem by planting more Christmas trees.